While we still do not know if this mass shooting was targeted and a hate crime, violence in the Asian American community has been on the rise. And now this mass shooting in Monterey Park has many in the community understandably on edge.
Yeah, so joining us now is Hae Pin Im, President and CEO of Faith and Community Empowerment, a group bridging the Asian American community with the community at large. Hae Pin, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, I know these are really difficult times. So the lunar...
Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. Yes. So the Lunar New Year is, of course, important in many cultures. Can you tell us more about how this shooting is now impacting communities and families? Are there changes being made to these celebrations?
So as mentioned, the lunar celebration is a time kind of like Thanksgiving or Christmas, where people will travel long distances to be with their families in our home countries. But here, even in the United States, it has another level of attention. So even tonight, I will be making a particular attention of bringing certain kind of food to celebrate the Lunar Year with my mother-in-law's family. So again, the fact that this kind of tragedy occurred in an annual event, I could see the repercussions of the trauma that people now will link with such a joyous occasion, but now connected with a lot of trauma and fear. And I would say that even for myself, it's very close to my home. And the thought of traveling there, visiting there, even shopping there is now at another level of heightened sensitivity as well as fear. And so I know that at this point, it's not even clear whether it's an anti-Asian violence, particularly if the suspect is Asian, but violence just in general targeting the Asian community has been prevalent. The anti-Asian hate definitely it increased, over 300% from the prior year. And so again, this new reality is one that now with this incident and the fact that it's connected to a Lunar Year celebration that's annual is definitely increasing another level of trauma and concern.
We spoke with one of our reporters earlier on the ground who said there is a sense, though, of resilience right now with the Lunar New Year. Even though this has happened, there also this idea that the community is going to continue to move forward with their plans. Amongst your family and friends, is that kind of the spirit that you're also witnessing tonight?
Yes. Thankfully, as I mentioned, many of us, including myself, again, we are going to be continuing in our family festivities or, recognizing the holiday. I think that I am most grateful that I am right now linked in with leaders from the API community locally and nationally, and coming together to see how we can respond and to advocate and to recommend changes in policies wherever I think the API community suffers again from an old policy that was put in place back in the 60s to really pit our community against others in terms of that stereotype of the model minority, in which is a myth. There's over 50 groups under that umbrella and over 100 languages where we don't share cultures, languages, even boundaries, and yet we are lumped together. And it really masks the suffering of so many subgroups. And I don't know that people are aware, but around mental health, Asians have the highest rates of not using mental health services. And I think that comes not just because, we're culturally, sensitive about shame, but just lack of outreach, education, awareness that this type of resource could be helpful and to even recognize that. And I think, there's been talks of this gentleman that perhaps there might even have been more of a domestic jealousy, who knows? But at the end of the day, I think as a society, we need to recognize that when we don't address the challenges that every individual faces in our country, one person's problem then becomes a problem for the rest of us and for all of us. And I'm so grateful, again, the resilience of the leaders in our community. We've come this far. We're not going to stop. And I'm also grateful for many of the elected officials, leaders, different ethnic groups who have reached out. I know that personally, the Secretary Mayorkas of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security reached out to say, how can we help? And I know that, again, the different groups have also been approached. And so I think in that way, things have changed, shifted a little bit in the last 2-3 years of having some new level of attention. But again, I think these type of incidents demonstrate that it's still not enough. And I really want to speak out and to say, please, our policymakers, corporate America, all the officials who make policy decisions, that you keep the API community in mind, that we're at the end of the day human like everyone else, and that we suffer from the same challenges, whether it's the racist system or poverty or whatever it is, and that we also need the same due attention that all communities deserve.
Absolutely. Well put. We hope that this is an opportunity for people to learn about these Lunar New Year celebrations, and perhaps the next one that takes place will be fully supported by the community. Haipin Lin, thank you so much. Haipin M, President and CEO of Faith and Community Empowerment. We really appreciate your input on this, and we hope for better days ahead.
Thank you for this opportunity.